Welcome to a fine gaming experience, everyone. It's This Way Lies Madness, or Bricks as you may know me. I have my co-host with me again.
Hey, it's Ice. Seemingly here forever.
And ever and ever. Now, those butterflies, as pretty as they are here, are giving our adventurer a little bit of a headache, so I'm just going to change that up really quick.
Too bad there wasn't a minigame where you could go and skewer them with your giant horned hat.
Well, that's in the expansion.
Oh, well then.
I figured, the Cactor helped us out with the Bear-Oth, so we'll give him a safe little home he can just hide out in here.
I love how spastic they are.
And that's not the only type of Cactor either. Now, the game has been kind of playing tricks on us here, where they talked about Zora, they talked about the Anjanath, but we're not actually going to take on either one. It's the Toby Kadachi.
A lot of bait and switch going on, which is fine. Really, Anjanath is not a fight we want to do without a little more preparation, and I honestly think it's a great idea that we're returning to the ancient forest so we can kind of get a lay of the land.
Yes, we'll be actually exploring the upper reaches a little bit in the coming missions for the forest, which is something I haven't quite done yet, and I will be doing an expedition down the line there to get something very special. But if you didn't notice there, we got our ghillie mantle, and that is our very first tool. And this one's pretty handy, it just hides us.
Good to see you.
You notice the huge amount of points you got there. Always come and talk to this person. They're kind of tucked away to the side so you don't see them very often. Even their exclamation mark's hard to see. But when you talk to them, very often they're going to give you a quest to go capture something. So you get the capture, you get the parts, and when you come back and talk to them afterwards, you get a huge boost of research points.
Someone was complaining I didn't show off the Poogie, so I have to do that now. The Poogie will have different outfits on each season, so he's still kind of in the winter outfit. It's kind of like the cooking minigame there, just pet him in time with the music. It's really easy once you get used to it. And once he's happy, you can pick him up, and he'll make a little fuss. You can feel a vibration in the controller. Set him down. He'll do rooting, usually in a store or something like that, so I guess he's technically stealing.
Poogies don't steal, they own the world. They're like cats.
And yeah, he'll find some goodies for us. Find.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely found them. They were its to begin with. They just burrowed them and stuck them in the ground.
Well, there wasn't a for sale sign around it, so, yep, free for all.
I really don't know how the economy even works here. At this point, I don't know why they charge you for things. I mean, shouldn't you, I don't know, just be given these things, seeing as you're putting your life on the line, and these people just sit here on piles of goods enjoying the good life?
Oh, yeah.
Well, everything is just a barter system with monster parts, I guess. Go out and get me monster parts so I can cook them, so I can make you armor, so you can have a house out of them.
There are people taking Zenny, which is, for those of you who are Capcom fans, Zenny is a currency that has appeared many, many games. I believe it's actually, is it Breath of Fire's main currency?
Ooh, I think so in the later games.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to remember if it is in the first one. I've actually been playing through number 2 lately to do some recording preemptively for that.
Exciting.
Hey, partner.
I know it's 3 that we are both very eager to get to,
In
though.
order to use one
3
of your
is a
specialized
masterpiece.
tools, you'll need to equip it from the item bar.
Unlike my
They're
fighting
used
against
just
Toby
like any
Kadachi coming
regular
up.
item, but their effects only last for a limited amount of time. If the tool you're using
Now,
stops
Toby
working,
is an
don't worry.
interesting creature,
It'll
and
be
he
charged
is
for a while.
pretty tough for an early fight. He's basically our first lightning elemental creature, and Juritotus had Water Blight, which basically made everything more expensive to use via endurance. The Lightning Blight will make it incredibly easy for us to be stunned through any hard hits, so you'll see me dizzied more than a few times in this fight.
Tobi-Kadachi also introduces a very important new mechanic to the game, and that's the introduction of the environmental monster abilities. You've seen them jump and move places, but you haven't actually seen special abilities that they can do to interact with the environment in ways we can't. I'll leave that as a bit of a surprise and call it out if he does it. Hopefully.
Oh, he will do it. This nest area up here is very annoying to fight him in. I actually did a refight later on against him, and any area outside this one part is a lot easier to fight him in.
I will say, fall damage not being something you can take is a big deal.
Oh yes. He can easily knock you out of this nest, and it's a big fall down.
Tobi is one of my favorite monster designs, though. Really, really clever. Kind of like an electric flying squirrel sort of deal.
The only thing I'm disappointed in is you can break his tail, but not cut it off.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's basically a tail. That's 50% of his length, and it's actually one of his major weak points. There we go.
Yep.
Now, luckily, you've already got a poison off this early.
Well, they give you poison throwing knives to start. And this is the annoying part with Tobi. He can leap tree to tree to tree, and even though I have the shield, it's hard to tell which angle the attack is coming from. So there'll be a couple times he jumps right behind me, or even a little to the side, and gets right past my shield.
And at this point, they actually want you to use the Ghillie Mantle. Good block there.
I get really good at using, instead of backing up to do my combo with the Lance, I get really good at using the counter cancel. Because that lets you do a fourth hit really quick, and just keep mounting the damage on and on and on and on.
This actually is one of the monsters that's better to show how good the Lance is, simply because Tobi's got these very long points of damage on the tail and the head, and the Lance lets you get to them pretty easily while staying somewhat safe. You're never fully safe.
I will break a lot of different parts on him by the end of this fight, I believe.
You're noticing there the ability to run during drinking a potion. That's something very important. When you put your weapon away, you can actually easily drink. And there's the Ghillie Mantle in use.
And it's an interesting thing when monsters lose track of you like this, because he knows I'm still around here somewhere, so he starts sniffing the area, and if he gets very suspicious, he'll give it like a swipe. But I kind of cancel out my hiding, because all I really wanted it for was the quick sharpen.
I recommend a lot of people use the Ghillie Mantle very, very long into the game. It's quite useful if you get into a bad bit of trouble.
Although there are some mantles later on that are just amazing. We'll talk about them more as we get them, though.
Good reason to do all your side quests. One of the hardest parts about him is that diving flip. You can actually go into a flip into a spin slash with the tail, or the straight flip down, and it's very hard to tell the difference between them. They have a small, slight delay between them.
One thing I didn't do, though, is while he's leaping on the trees, if you hit him with a good enough ranged attack, it will knock him down, and he'll sit there just flailing for a little bit. But speaking of environmental hazards...
Oh, yes.
There's that giant rock just somehow held on by vines, which we drop on him and a couple Kestodons.
And the damage that did was extremely high.
I don't know why, but usually it sends most monsters on their ass and just reeling in pain. He's still standing up, surprisingly.
Could be that it's early in the fight. Maybe he was eating a Kestodon down here.
That's one thing you gotta be careful of. He's got a nice double attack that comes from two different directions, sort of. That electric tail just comes out of nowhere sometimes.
Well, the thing I was saying earlier about potions is you can actually drink potions while running, and you kind of go into a small little sprint. You're not going to go full speed. Just watch your stamina.
Stamina is one of those things, if you start not paying attention to, it'll bite you in the ass.
Oh. Luckily, he didn't go for a big attack there. And he generally
No.
won't. He'll usually won't go for one of his big slaps. He'll just bite on you if he knocks you unconscious.
I do cut it kind of close a few moments in this fight, though. Couple nice quick blocks off on some of these attacks, though.
And if anybody was watching the stamina bar there, you would have noticed the stamina bar does not move when you take one of those perfect blocks. If you get that very powerful block off, it drains your stamina, yes, but it doesn't actually drain it from getting hit by monsters, making it very good for a clutch attack. Oh, so close. Just
I know.
A little bit further.
I really should use my straight-on thrust instead of my high one, but it does have a slightly longer reach. But you can see, like, I was trying to do the advanced poke until I got in range.
Excellent blocks there.
And like you said, sometimes you are very happy to see the monster just go.
Mm-hmm. I have to say your lance play has increased significantly since the last time. It is a very good weapon, and I think a lot of people just don't want to use it because you're so clunky while you're walking around with the weapon out. But if you'll notice, Brix is very often putting the weapon away, and that allows you to move full speed. So as long as you're comfortable getting out of the way and putting your weapon up, the lance really doesn't have a lot of weak points. It's quite a strong weapon.
I've actually grown to like it quite a bit. I'd like to try it out against some of the big tough guys later on, particularly the one you said it doesn't work good on.
We will see. You're being brave. I'd like to see it happen.
We're talking spoilers here with that are really late in the game, but
Oh, not that late. Closer
That's true.
than you think. Uh-oh.
at least he didn't do his full-on electric charge with that, which can give it more damage, so
He does actually have to charge up. You will notice that. He doesn't carry around the lightning, and once he uses it, the element is gone for a little bit until he recharges.
And this is outright annoying. I really just want to deal with Toby. Like, I could kill the Great Jaggers without an issue, but they're kind of just pissing each other off. They're not really fighting each other, they're just having a little spat. And I just want to get them out of this narrow area.
You know what would be useful right now? Dung.
Oh, yes. I didn't bring any dung with me, though.
The reason we were talking about dung so much earlier in the game and how it's so important to collect it every time you see it is you can make an item called dung pods, which are ammo for your slinger. If you hit an enemy with the dung pod, it chases it away. Because it stinks now and it's really annoyed. It wants to go bathe itself and rub that off on a tree somewhere. Sometimes it takes a couple, but it will stop things like this and get a one-on-one monster versus you fight instead of the nonsense that's going on right now.
Yes, I think particularly with the next fight we got coming up, I'm going to play extra safe and bring some dung pods, because I don't want that one getting interfered in like this. If you did notice, I broke the tail there.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that does slow down how much he uses his big electric attacks, since they are tail-based, but... Oh, and here we notice that he got the skull going, and for the first time, I'm going to show you off a quick capture.
You got to be very used to the time it takes to deploy these to do this properly.
It would have been a lot safer to wait till he went to his nest and fell asleep, but that's a narrow path. You could only really go so far.
You'll notice there is a rule to trapping. You have to trap a monster in either a pitfall trap or shock trap, and then you almost always have to hit them with 2 trank bombs. Not 1, 2. It'll always be 2 unless there are special circumstances on the monster. So be ready to just spam that button. Don't spam it too much, though. Once you get those 2 off, you're good. Very important to know is if you didn't capture the monster at the right time, if it runs away, if you can catch it in another trap after doing some damage to it, that kind of essence of sleep will stay in their system for a while. So if you can trap them again after you've hit them with those, you can actually do the reverse and get an instant capture.
That's what I was going to say there, is that you can actually use the tranquilizers first and then the trap, it's just a little bit more worrisome because it will eventually start depleting in their system, so you might not catch them if you wait too long.
Mm-hmm. The very amorous chief botanist, ready to absolutely kiss you on the face.
But he also unlocks a very awesome thing right here. This is one of those things you just seem to loved in the game.
I absolutely do.
Hunters of the 5th, come see me. We've got an urgent quest.
You can wait, it's tree time, buddy.
Yep. Basically, he planted a special seed here that'll grow into a tree, and we can harvest almost any material through this that comes naturally from the environment.
We do it constantly. I'm sure all of you will as well. But if you end up playing this game, you're going to forget about your tree. The tree works very mysterious way. You'll plant an item, and then you'll be able to afterwards use certain fertilizers to enrich the amount of things you'll get. So you can see herbs, blue mushrooms, honey, bitter bugs. Each of those fit into a category, and certain categories are shared. So your herbs are going to be shared only with each other for the most part. They're a plant. Whereas something like this is for bugs and honey. Bugs and honey are probably the thing you should be making the most of early in the game, because a lot of your bugs can make great things like flash pods, and honey is of course what you make your mega potions with.
As well as a couple other things that are also very handy.
Each of the buffs only lasts a few missions, so you may not think to go back there that often, seeing as very rarely will you ever have to go back after one mission. But I recommend after every mission, just go and check, see what's about to wear out, because there are ways to kind of perpetually keep the plants growing, and that does use your research points, so you don't want to accidentally have to redo everything and pay a ton of research points to set it back up.
It's nice though, it's just free items, and sometimes you don't want to spend time just going around harvesting more flash pods or stuff like that, so it's quite handy just to be able to mass produce a bunch.
Just a little tip for everybody. When you're playing this game, I recommend whenever you come to the canteen, use a meal voucher if you're playing with friends, or if you're just planning on playing solo, use your meal vouchers when you need to. Spend your money on meals, and try to save your research points for the tree, because there isn't an option otherwise. You have to spend them there. There's also a lot of other things that spend your research points where you don't get the option to use money. So I highly recommend always buy your meals.
We also got, from that last mission there, 4 slots for the canteen, which not only allows us to double up on things like attack boost, defense boost, or the resistance, we can also get more hit points and stamina from more fresh ingredients.
Ooh, a little treat today.
Yeah, I'm going to finish this off with something special. We have a whole bunch of missions open to us that, one with 2 Anjanaths is quite tough, but the reward is amazing. But for now, I'm going to take on 3 Great Jagras.
Now, this is the arena quests that are a lot more common. You will find a lot of these. And the special thing about these is you use your gear for them. Any of these event quests, you're going to use your official, actual gear, which is really nice. You're using what you're used to. That also means that you want to pick up anything that you find in that chest, because you're going to need the boosts. Oh, an immediate mount. Great job.
Thank you. This is an interesting little... You can remount if you get knocked off like that. This is interesting because we're fighting 3 Great Jagras, but each one is of varying sizes. This is the big one.
Mr. Giganto.
It has the most hit points. Yep. Had to change the angle so we can actually see the mount attack.
Bigger monsters are actually pretty easy to fight as long as you can keep them in your camera view. Bigger weak points.
And I got really good at doing the cancel thrust there. So you're going to see me use it quite a bit against these guys, since they're not as mobile as Toby was.
Good hops. You can see that poison's already inflicted.
Poison is a great status too, so...
The Lance actually shares some interesting sort of combinations with the Sword and Shield, in the fact that you can block with it. You should block with it, I should say, as opposed to the Sword and Shield, where it's kind of an emergency thing. But not just that, it also shares the ability to rapidly inflict status. Lance makes a very good status weapon. There are some sleep and poison lances that I enjoy, but the paralyzed lance is just incredibly good.
One thing we're going to be talking about that we get from this next episode is workshop weapons. We'll go a little bit more into it next episode, but this is why I mastered the cancel thrust, because you can just sit there and do so much damage when the opponent is just on his back. Backstep is handy, but it's really knowing when to backstep and when to do the cancel thrust, I kind of thought.
There's actually 2 or 3 different ways to play the lance. The way you're playing right now is the combination. Oh, excellent. You killed him with a mount there.
A little surprising finish, but I'm happy with that.
But the cancel thrust is part of both the block and the evade lancing. And generally with evade lancing, your job is just hit 3 times, do long hops using abilities on your armor to make you hop longer distances, and you're just consistently putting out numbers. Really good for status builds. The other type is the guard lancing, where you're going to be blocking pretty much everything and using counters, and you're using a combination of both. I really feel that that's the best way to play. However, later on in the game, your armor will make you make choices. Look at the size of this little guy.
This is my favorite opponent in this fight.
The greatest of Jagrai.
He is smaller than even a regular Jagras. He does not get the title great. The hilarious thing is we can mount that guy. Seeing, like, us mounting something so small just looks weird. I wish I did it in this fight.
We're actually getting to see something fairly rare, which is you fighting 2 monsters confidently. That happens a lot later in the game, but I don't think they like each other.
They are standing near each other, which is handy from my swipes, at least.
That was an excellent evasion there, and a great slide into the shield. I don't know if it was intentional, but it was definitely good timing. See, that little guy just bowled you over.
He's an angry little man.
One of the pickups there, the Wyvern Tears, they're very good for getting a lot of research points. And one of the great things about the Wyvern Tear, you have to get munched on.
Yep.
Doesn't do a lot of extra damage, but it does actually help the hunger gauge of the Jagras doing that. So it doesn't so much restore life, but it will restore some of its defenses. You'll get a better chance of evading a lot of your status ailments for a while.
One thing I was trying to show off there too, but didn't really get to do it properly. When you're doing the lance charge down a hill, it doesn't take you very long at all to get into your critical status. You'll actually do it in like 1 second going down a hill. So you can do massive damage on short little bursts like this. Unfortunately, every time I was trying, they knocked me out of it, but
Good use of the sweep.
little enemies like that tend to be a little more easier to hit with the sweep, I find. More Wyvern Tears.
And how do you get Wyvern Tears?
Just making fun of the monsters.
No. Smack him in the face. With a giant lance. That's how you get Wyvern Tears. Doing a lot of damage to the head. Hitting them in weak points consistently. You're going to see Wyvern Tears pop up a lot on monsters that you were just beating the heck out of.
Yeah, getting the resource point items out of monsters isn't as common as getting the monster parts, but as you saw, you can get a lot of points from it. And that's something a lot of people don't notice, is there's scatter nuts in here.
And the gate. The gate has a purpose. First of all, being able to jump up it is excellent for a lot of builds that use a lot of the traversing aerial attacks. Greatsword is one of them. Dual Blades is another. Sword and Shield, of course, one of your personal favorites. But otherwise, that wall kind of stinks, especially in multiplayer. Don't split people off. There is not a way to pull it back up from the other side.
Yes, and it stays up longer than you'd like.
Look at those pickups.
The Azure Shard, though, is the special treat we get from that, and I will be showing off what we get from that next episode. But if you know what we get, you'll know which weapon is coming up next. And I promise next time, we will actually take on that Anjanath.
With a new weapon, no less.
It's not one of my best weapons, it's one of your best weapons.
It is.
I hope everyone enjoys seeing me trying to fumble around a little bit with that one.
The Anjanath is quite the fight, so I'm excited to see what happens.
They've been building that one up for a little bit, so I hope you all join me next time, and take care all.